Good morning, friends. Good morning. Welcome to the Wednesday LiveStream from Dulcimer Crossing. My name is Steve Yulberg, and this is something that we do every week. Although it looks like my graphic settings have disappeared. Let's do that. And I used to have these all. There they are. Okay, now we have it working. It's just going very slow today. If you are in the dulcimer world, you might know that this week is the Quarantine Festival. This is the third one. It takes place Friday and Saturday with workshops all day, but concerts are Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, and Sunday. Everything is all the information can be found on this. Let me pull up the website. And here we go. Let's share the screen. This is a cast of thousands event. We have over 60 instructors, and it's still possible there will be a vendor night, which is very interesting. The first time this has happened, Dulcimer Crossing is one of the sponsors of this event. I think you can see right here is our logo. There's a lot of wonderful sponsors. In virtual festivals, the thing that has been missing is a way for people to interact with people who provide the resources to members of the Dulcimer community. And so Ashley Ernst from Dulcimer Players News is going to be hosting this and will help move people into breakout rooms. So it'll be a Zoom session, and then you can come and you want to visit with me or any one of the other vendors. We'll have breakout rooms where we can have a chance for some closer one-on-one conversation. I will be talking not only about the things that Dulcimer Crossing offers and giving some demos is the best way I could do that, I think, but we'll also have available the related books and CDs that I have for the classes that I'm teaching. In addition, we have 4 concerts each night. There's over 60 musicians, 10 hours of music, a ridiculously low price, $25 for all access to all the concerts. And so if you're at all interested in dulcimers, this is your chance to hear all the different ways that people play dulcimers. There are some people that will play in ensembles because they have a family or people that are part of their pod that can play together. In the past, there have been people who've been playing masked in socially distanced settings. And there's a lot of us that just are by ourselves in our studios that will be playing. That is often the way I play if I'm not together with one of my duos or trios or quartets. So solo is not unusual for me. You can still also buy a t-shirt. All the proceeds go to support all of the people who teach. Since we can't do our regular work, this is a way that this is why this was conceived nearly a year ago. So the virtual dulcimerfest.com is where you can find that. And let me post that in the I have to view as a visitor to do that. Here we go. That is happening this week. The vendors' times are tomorrow, Thursday, in the 6 p.m. Eastern, which is 3 p.m. Pacific. So you got to do your time zone factors. The other thing that happens because these things are global is that you need to know what your own time zone is and how to figure that out. It's not up to the festival to tell you, but there is a helpful grid to say this is what time it is in all these different time zones. It's at this point does not include the UK, but the people who organize it are in the central time zone, so they are focused on that, communicating to the rest of us. So we get to grow up and learn in a different world that's bigger than the one we thought we grew up in. And I'm saying that not facetiously, because I grew up in the Eastern time zone, and that's like the only time zone there is when you're in a time zone, right? This is the one, this is the right one. Everyone else should adjust to me. And since then, I've lived in the Central time zone, and then the Mountain time zone, and now Pacific. My daughter is in Alaska, so I've stayed with her and spent 10 days living in Alaska time. And I have a good friend who's in Hawaii. So just within the United States, I've got connections with all these different time zones, and it opens up your mind. And it's one of those things that can be helpful for music. There's more than just the way I have done this before. I'm teaching a class right now in my 6-week lessons about evening prayer, and somebody wrote and said, "You didn't send this in the tuning that I would prefer." And I just had to write back and say, it's part of the educational experience. I'm sending you this so that I can show how you can use your tuning to play this. So it's just, not everything has to be adapted for us. We can also use our skills. So that's what's going on there. I was also able to be part of something that I want you to know about. This is exciting. The People's Music Network had their winter convergence, and I'm gonna share my screen for this one too. This past weekend, it's based on the East Coast. Speaking of time zones and things, but because of the virtual world, I was able to take part in it, and it was really wonderful. There was, a round robin sing along that was very, very powerful. People sharing different things, but there were workshops that I took part in that I found so helpful. And the one I want to focus on today, and so I'm going to stop sharing that. But this one, oh, let me put this into the Facebook feed. Another fine workshop. Yeah. If you're into acronyms, there were two workshops that I took part in. One was called Driveway Choir, and this was so fun. This was where, let me show you. Got to share this one now too. Driveway choirs was developed in the pandemic as a way to let people sing together from the safety of their car. So you can see across here in this particular image that we have. Oops, where is the one? There it is. You can click on any one of these and you'll see, let's see, this was the Messiah sing along. Now I can't remember if I gave you permission to sing or to hear. So in this particular way of doing things, everybody is in their car. You can see the windows are rolled up, and each person has a microphone, and they're all singing to. It's live. There's a conductor, and they've parked their cars like you would at a drive-in movie, so that everybody has sight lines. There's a conductor who's up. There is a piano player who is, because this took place in Massachusetts, it was very cold, playing with fingerless gloves in a U-Haul truck with heaters blowing on him. But his sound from the piano was being sent out to everybody via a small band FM transmitter that actually a lot of churches have been using. And so the people in the car have turned on their FM radio, and they're singing into the microphone. It goes back out and is mixed together and comes through so you can actually sing and hear in harmony. This is the thing that we've been missing, right? This is what when we can't do things that are musically in sync in Zoom. So this is a way for people to sing together in harmony. They can either be wired, which is a big is a lot of work, or they were demonstrating the way they can use the radio transmitted the wireless microphones. So and how to set it up. So it all looked possible. That was cool. That wasn't the most exciting workshop for me. The most exciting one that I took a part in was about it was with the people who have created the tools to help us electronically through our computer sing and play music with each other with as low latency as possible. There was first a presentation on all the things that have to happen, which is that create the latency, and why latency is there so that we can actually hear things. It's on purpose. But then how are the different strategies for decreasing that or unencoding the thing when it gets to you with low latency so that we can actually do things together. There have been several different, and people have pointed to and asked me about many times the different ways that this can happen. And during the pandemic, Jam Kazam is something I learned about from Bing Fudge back in 2014, 2015. But the whole point was you have to be plugged in. And this is the case for everything. You cannot just use your computer sound and audio. You need to have headphones on. And this is the thing that a lot of people don't understand. And people will tell me, you don't need your headphones. And it's like, yes, I do. Because when I speak and it goes to you and it comes out your speakers back into your microphone to me, that's where the latency is evident. And that's why Zoom has this auto cancellate or echo cancellation, because it's hearing the echo and it has software that cancels that. Now it also affects music because music is about sustained sound. And so that's one of the reasons why Zoom is kind of iffy about trying to do things together in music. They're working on it, but we still can't because the Zoom processor can't keep track of whose microphone are they supposed to be listening to. So Jam Kazam is still one of those tools. It was something that was part of a Kickstarter program that they made a hub thing that you could plug into. The key thing is you have to be using Ethernet. Wi-Fi will not suffice. And of course, we need the best internet connection we can have. But you need to be actually connected physically with a cable to your router. It's not going to work over Wi-Fi. And so, and I just had this experience yesterday, and the student knew that they needed to be plugged in. And then after the class, when there were some issues, said, "Oh yeah, I wasn't on Wi-Fi. I was on Ethernet." Now I'm on Wi-Fi right now because my computer had to capture something from my phone. But if I can turn that off, I'm wired. So now I have the direct connection. Jam Kazam used to be a free thing, and now it's a subscription service, and that lets them pay for the ongoing development because it sat silent from 16 to 20. There was no updating of the website, no anything, but they're back at it. There's also Jamulus, which is another one that I've looked at. Jam Kazam offers the ability to have video and audio at the same time in the same interface. However, if your connection is slow, you're going to want to turn off the video. In fact, the way it has worked best for me is to have a Zoom meeting with the people I want to see and turn off the sound on Zoom and use the other way to do the sound connection. I don't know that there is, Jim, that's a great question. What's the minimum upload and download speed? The student I was working with yesterday I had an upload speed of almost 6 megabytes per second and a download speed of 288. The student had an upload speed of 10 and a download of 5. But we were still able to connect with each other. It wasn't perfect, and we still have some things to work out, and we're going to try it again next week. It wasn't on either one of these platforms, but there is a big there are some technical steps that have to happen in order for this all to work. The first thing is the Ethernet being wired in. Um, so headphones, or some way for you to have the sound that's coming to you go to your head and not into the room, coming back through the microphone to create the echoes that are going to be that's going to cause issues, and we don't want any issues. We just want music. um, and an audio interface for the microphone, the external microphone. And I use it also for my headphones. It might not be possible to do that. You can map your sound so that that doesn't have to happen. But if you have an interface that can, and a microphone that's of a higher quality, that's what's in your computer, because that's for speaking, it's not for music. If you can do that, that's going to give you the best possible thing. Now, getting it to and from, the workshop I was in, there were three softwares or solutions. Jacktrip, which has been developed by a professor at Stanford for 20 years, been working on this, and the San Francisco Symphony and other classical musicians are working on that kind of a thing. Then there was Sound Jack, and this was developed by a professor in Germany, and he was speaking to us from Germany and showing us some things which are very important. He's the one that gave the introduction to the overall issue and what are the things that are being trying to be solved. And then Sonobus. I was in the small group with Sound Jack, and Jack is just like, it looks like a jack that you'd plug your quarter-inch phone plug into your instrument cable. That's the graphic piece, and then you can map it. There's a beginner set of settings. There's intermediate and expert settings. Um, so that has the possibility of being, I can get into it at the level I can, and when I bump up against what I can't do yet, then I can expand and use the other settings. And then Sonobus, which is the one I worked with my student yesterday. the actual, I had already downloaded the software to my computer, and let me go to Sonobus. This was developed by a fellow in Virginia. I'm going to put the name of it here, and let me share this video, this visual here, because this is what it looks like when you can see everybody else. So everybody's got their name. I can adjust their volume. I can move them to different ears. The cool thing is that I can choose the effects and add reverb or things like that. So it doesn't sound like dry sound. It actually sounds like a room. And the reverb can actually help us. And then this shows that I was recording something here. Now let me give you the sound jack. Oh, come on. Soundjack.com. Nope, that didn't work. Here's the Facebook page for Soundjack. Hey, Rusty. Maybe I should say that's a Facebook page for Soundjack, because it might be that's United Kingdom. If I clicked here, that's where I ended up something. So I don't know exactly what happened with that, because I was able to download that software, and that comes from Germany. But let's stop sharing that. There we go. There are a lot of tools, and they're getting better. That's the exciting thing. And they're becoming more accessible. Let me say that. Oh, I know what I can do. I already downloaded it, and installed it. That's yeah. Soundjack uses its software that has to be on your computer, and then there's a link somewhere else. It's a web-based thing, and here's the reason why. If I am, there's a big divide, and this gets toward the question I think that you were asking, Jim. If you're on a peer-to-peer network, or interface, I send something to you and get it back from you, but you also send it to Rusty and get it back from Rusty, but Rusty is also sending it to me and I'm getting it back. So we have this big, long, many interconnected web of how we were doing. And it's like, so far in all of these, there's a limit of 7 or 8 people that you can use in a peer-to-peer network before the whole thing breaks down. And I have heard people say they were able to use Jamulus with 3 people, but when they added the 4th, it all fell apart. And that's that issue. It's just a compounding of the complexity. So for small groups, there is the peer-to-peer possibility. Larger groups, it's a server it's a server requirement. You need to send something to the server, so you're sending one thing, it's sending a mix back to you. The Sonobus is like that. It's within a server choosing a private group or an open group. And that's the case with all of these, excuse me, online ways to connect. There is a public place, and there's, if you want to just connect with the people you know, and in fact, Jamkazam was always one of those public ones that you could create a private room in. So anytime of day or night, you'd get on and somebody'd be playing something, and you could just jump in and join if they had created their session to be an open session. So, there's an electric guitar player wants a bass and drums, and somebody says, I want to do harmonica. They can't say no. They're doing it in a public place, unless it's just their band and they're going to be setting it up as a private thing. Yeah, jam over Zoom is like a recital, everybody taking turns. Using these softwares with the peer-to-peer, you can hear each other, and the sound is really good. As we played together yesterday, the playing was fine. When we tried singing, there was a lag. And the issue for this particular student who is not comfortable with their timing was the question of, is this the student issue or is this the software issue? And so that's where some more testing is needed. So it's either peer-to-peer or one going to the server and getting the mix of everyone who's a part of it coming back. So that was a very exciting update in what's possible. And very quickly, the student was also in that workshop and said, "Can we do this for my lesson this week?" And that wasn't the small group that I went to, but it was very easy to quickly jump into that. I was impressed with the sound jack because they're also working with large symphonies, and they can do the peer-to-peer and the server-based thing. It just wasn't as quickly intuitive as Sonobus was. So these are things that I'm looking forward to doing some more with and finding out more about and watching them develop, because so much has happened in a positive direction in the past 20 years, but in the past 10 months. And a piece of each one of these, we were talking to the developers of the different platforms or strategies for doing this. They had a lot in common. They are all part of a weekly Monday group of people who are getting together to share their learnings with each other. It's not a competitive thing. It's a very cooperative academic kind of process. And they were talking about how in 2019, all these things were happening that were so good, and they had these plans. And then they launched a couple of important things at the beginning of 20, and then bam, the pandemic hit, and everybody wanted their thing, and there was a lot more energy put toward it by people who were not already in it. And so that's the learning for this week. I hope you have a wonderful week and get a chance to play your instrument. We're starting to come up on a lot of anniversaries since the beginning of this pandemic, and that's just be gentle with yourself as you do that. Be open and wonder a little bit and celebrate everywhere we can celebrate. I'll be celebrating life. And I do want to say this is let me quickly get this. I'm so excited that Wendy Sange, our friend, her campaign is doing well. We're trying to raise $50,000 for her. She is a Mountain Balsamer teacher and instructor and a performer who had a brain tumor and a heart attack last fall and has not been able to work. Even the work that we can do online, she has not been able to do that because she had to have surgery, brain surgery, and she's recovering from that. And I talked to her as her brain is relearning how to do things that she's known how to do all of her life. But we're raising funds And the goal is 50,000. We're over 60% of the way there. And there's for $50 donations, there is a CD that a lot of us donated tracks to. And my song, I Celebrate Life, is on that one. And so as I think about celebrating life, I'm thinking about Wendy too. And invite you to add your support if you're so willing to do that. And if you're coming to Quarantine, I look forward to seeing you there. And other than that, I'll see you next week. So thank you very much for your kind attention. Bye.